Just a couple of announcements. We're going to start from scratch. Last week, I think we progressed a little bit, and then we had our technical difficulties. But today we're going to start again on part 1 of 2 for the design of a two-way post-tension slab in ADAPT Builder. And we will record today's meeting. We're going to place the recording on our YouTube channel, which is on at www.youtube.com/adaptsupport. There's a webinars playlist that you can go ahead and access. I will have all of the different webinars in that particular playlist. And also, we want to make sure we're going to reserve question and answer for the last part of today's meeting. We're going to go about an hour and then we'll stop. We'll have 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. I will ask, I'm going to mute everyone's microphone just in case there's any background noise, so it doesn't disturb the meeting. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then if you do have questions that are specific maybe to something in the training, you can always access the chat box to ask the question. But we would prefer, if you don't mind, just reserving questions until the last part of today's meeting. So hopefully everyone can hear me. If you cannot, please let me know and we will go ahead and continue. So today we're going to work again on part 1. We're going to talk about building the model from a Revit file. We're going to talk about importing the Revit model to ADAPT Builder. Also, how do we convert a CAD file to an ADAPT Builder model? Some of these are pretty basic steps in the process, but the training is really for beginner to intermediate type level users. So we're going to start with the Revit model. I'll go ahead and inside of our Revit window, we should have the Adapt tools under the Analyze ribbon. So in the Analyze ribbon, there's this Adapt section. This is installed in Revit per the ADAPT-Revit link, and we have links stretching all the way back from Revit 2019 back to 2008, 7, somewhere in that region. So we have several years worth of Revit links. This being the latest, we are working on Revit 2020 link now, which we should release when we release Builder 2019 later this summer. So we're going to use the option to export the Revit model. Now in the Revit model, a couple of important points to point out here is that the Revit model must contain structurally enabled components. So if you select a slab region, for example, this slab region is structurally enabled. You have to have a material assignment as concrete assigned to the component for it to be interpreted by our IMP extract. We access the Revit API, and we're looking for certain things when we extract and write the data. This file gets written to an IMP format, which is what ADAPT uses for integrating with Revit, eTabs, Tekla Structural Designer, any builder-to-builder models that you want to interchange within the Builder platform, ADAPT's own platform, you would use IMP also. So this is a pretty standardized format that we use for extraction and then importing into Builder. So we'll go ahead and we'll say export. We want to export this model. The first dialog that will appear will be an option that is used to map default column parameters to user-defined or custom parameters. In this case, we're just using the default column parameters. We'll go ahead and say OK. And this dialog for the ADAPT-Revit link is read-only. The only real true selection you can make is how we access and what levels we access to export from Revit to ADAPT. In this case, none means you're basically importing everything. Any level that is assigned in Revit will be imported into ADAPT. In some cases, you may not want every single level because that means that anytime you model, for example, a wall or a column in ADAPT, in order for the column to be extrapolated vertically into a stack, you have to have a column that spans, let's say, every level. So if you have a level that's 2 inches high, there's a column that becomes 2 inches high, and that becomes a little bit cumbersome to deal with. So our recommendation is to use active. Active will import only the levels that structural components are assigned to in terms of their position, so in the Revit model. So if you have non-structural components that are attached to non-structural levels, they won't be included in this active selection. The structural selection means that any level that is tagged and assigned as structural in Revit would be exported to ADAPT. So in this case, we don't have any structural levels assigned, so we'll use active. And you also have a dialog which shows just the component count of items that will be imported, or rather written to the IMP file, load cases, and load combinations. In this case, I'm going to select my load combos, and I'll leave those inside of Revit. We'll build those out inside of the ADAPT model, and I'll go ahead and export that. We'll save this as an IMP file, and that process is done. I'll just set Revit to the side, and I'm now going to import this file from Revit to Builder. So I'll go to File. Actually, let me back up just one step. I'm going to launch Builder. Today we're using Builder 2018 Build 2, and this will be distributed actually today to users who are actively using Builder. This was prepared on Friday of last week, and there's a few minor fixes that were made between Build 1 and Build 2. Mainly being able to view crack deflections inside the main viewer, and also being able to view